Hey, I'm Patrick King. In this video, I'll show you how retiring at 55, 60, or 65 can create completely different financial and lifestyle realities that most people don't understand until it's too late to change paths. Over the years of working with clients who've retired at each of these ages, I've discovered that a 5 or 10 year difference in retirement timing doesn't just affect your savings, it fundamentally reshapes your entire retirement experience. And that's what we're doing today. We're showing you the real-world differences between retiring at 55, 60, and 65 so you can make an informed decision about when you retired. All right, let's get you retired. Okay, so let's talk retirement at 55. If you can pull it off, early retirement is what everyone is looking for. No more setting the alarm to wake up and go to work. And definitely no more Monday staff meetings where Eric drones on and on about the same thing every freaking week. And retiring early also means that you're young and healthy enough to finally do all of those things that you've been putting off for so long. Hiking Machu Picchu, taking that trip to Florence, or finally visiting that mythical place called the gym. But you're on your own. No Medicare yet, so you're out of pocket for health insurance at least for a decade. And no Social Security for at least 7 years, so you're out of pocket for all of your expenses too. And to complicate things, being able to tap into your 401k without a penalty doesn't happen for another 4.5 years when you turn age 59.5, unless you do something like the Rule 72T equal periodic payments. By the way, I made a video about those, so check out the link in the description if you want to learn more. So to retire at 55, most people lean on their after-tax brokerage accounts, for the most part, to bridge that gap between retirement and age 59.5. And there's health insurance. This always seems to be the biggest wild card for anyone who retires before 65. As I'm sure you're aware, health insurance premiums have done nothing but go up recently. And if you're moving from a group plan to a marketplace plan, well, you might have a little sticker shock when you start shopping for an individual policy. Now, we'll see how some of these things shake out when it comes to the subsidies that are available through the ACA, but those subsidies are a possibility. If you're able to keep your modified gross adjusted income low enough and qualify for some of these subsidies, you could potentially not have as big of an issue as you'd think. These would be on the table for retirees who are planning to use their taxable investment accounts between retirement and age 65. But if you can't make these subsidies happen, your premiums could be well north of $1,000 per month per person. And that doesn't even include out-of-pocket costs. This is why income and tax planning are so crucial. Okay, so while retiring early, in our case 55, can give you an incredible amount of freedom in terms of your time, your energy, and your health, it's also the most difficult scenario to plan for. You are retired, but congratulations, you also have a new job, managing your investments, taxes, and healthcare for the next 30 to 40 years. So that's the challenge of retiring at 55. Along with all of that freedom comes uncertainty. You have all that time to enjoy the life that you've worked so hard to save for, and you're young enough to enjoy it. But a lot more falls on your shoulders too. You have to manage your health insurance, taxes, and the withdrawals from your accounts early on when it's most crucial. So where retiring at 55 maximizes your freedom but requires more complex planning, waiting another 5 years to retire at 60 comes with its own set of challenges. Okay, let's talk retirement at age 60. Even though we're past that age 59.5 hurdle, I still consider retiring before age 62 as early. I tend to think of that stretch between 62 and 65 when you are eligible for Social Security, but before you're eligible for Medicare as the normal retirement age. In fact, age 62 is the most popular retirement age. So at age 60, you're still thinking about a lot of those same issues as you would if you'd retired at 55, but it's easy to access your 401k, and there's less of a time horizon to bridge between Social Security and Medicare. But that's still a gap that we need to plan carefully for. At 60, most people are still in good physical shape, and they still have plenty of energy to take all of those trips. But health insurance is still going to be an issue. There's still 5 more years to go before you're eligible for Medicare. And again, these premiums for an individual health insurance policy will make you wince like you just stubbed your toe on the kitchen table. But you're still in the same boat as our person who retired at 55 when it comes to those ACA subsidies. So if you're able to stave off on tapping into your tax-deferred savings, you could be eligible for some of those subsidies, assuming they still exist by the time that you get there. So while we still need a bridge strategy to get you from 60 to 65, it's a lot easier easier than it is for someone who retires at 55. One option that works a lot for my clients is to stay on their current group plan through COBRA eligibility. You can stay on your plan for up to 18 months after you leave work. Your COBRA premiums will cost 102% of your plan's full premium. And while you'll no longer have your employer covering a portion of those premiums, it's still often less expensive than going to the marketplace. And by the way, these subsidies are based on your expected income, not your prior year's income. So if you plan to retire in December, you can estimate your first year's retirement income, apply for the subsidies during open enrollment, and have them go towards next year's premiums. And of course, all of this gets more complicated if your spouse is younger and will still need private health insurance. So retiring at 60 still means that you're going to have to be your own health insurance agent, portfolio manager, and tax planner, at least for a few more years. But let's not forget, retiring at 60 is still early retirement. You'll still have that same freedom and flexibility, but it is still something that you need to plan carefully for. And when you finally hit age 62, Social Security unlocks, but at a cost. Taking those benefits early means a reduction of up to 30% from your full benefits. All right, here's how I think about Social Security. Whether or not you take it early or delay it, remember your full retirement age is just an arbitrary number. That's right, your full retirement age, according to Social Security, was just something that was made up by Congress when all of this got signed into law. You don't have to think of it that way. You have this range of ages from 62 to 70 where you can choose to start those benefits or not. It's whatever's best for you. I will tell you that when you run the numbers, there is a monetary benefit to delaying, but that doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. Quite frequently, I see where the added economic benefit of delaying Social Security makes no difference in the projected outcome of clients' plans. So retiring at 60 is still early retirement, but you're close enough to Social Security and Medicare where bridging the gap between retirement and those benefits isn't as difficult. It also means that some of our gap year tax strategies, such as strategic Roth IRA conversions and 0% capital gains tax harvesting, can really start to add up if they're right for you. But of course, you'll have to balance those with limiting your modified adjusted gross income if you still want to take advantage of those ACA subsidies. So it's a little easier to plan for than retirement at 55, but you absolutely need to think it through. While retiring at 60 still creates some challenges, retiring at 65 is our easiest case from a financial planning perspective, but it has its drawbacks too. If retiring at 55 is all about maximizing freedom, then retiring at 65 is all about maximizing security. So this is our Coca-Cola Classic scenario. It's what everyone thinks about when you say retirement. At 65, you're finally eligible for Medicare, your Social Security benefits are there for the taking, and your retirement savings have had several years to grow. And by the way, if you consider the rule of 72, there's still a good chance that your nest egg has doubled since age 55. And while from a financial planning standpoint, this is the easiest case to plan for, it comes at a cost. Fewer years to enjoy not working. Medicare kicks in as soon as you leave your company's group health insurance plan, which solves one of the most difficult things to plan for in retirement. And that right there is probably a relief to a lot of people. No more IBS-inducing ACA premiums or having to worry about keeping your modified adjusted gross income below a certain threshold. And at the same time, delaying Social Security to at least age 65 will increase your lifetime benefits, which, because of the cost of living adjustment, can significantly benefit you later in life. Delaying those Social Security benefits is a great longevity hedge. But again, it may not make much of a difference in your plan, so your mileage may vary. Waiting until age 65 gives you more security than retiring at 55 or 60, but it also gives you less time to start checking off those bucket list items. So that's the trade-off, at least on paper: freedom versus security. And by 65, many retirees have already slowed down a little. I've even seen some retirees have health issues affect some of the travel that they plan to do at this age. So free climbing LCAP might not be in the cards for you at this age. But financially, you're in a place where you have maximum security. And that brings us to the ultimate question behind all of this financial planning stuff. Are we optimizing for financial security or for life experiences? And this is where everyone's a little different. You could certainly have a situation where someone derives a lot of meaning from their work, and retiring early could take some of that away. For instance, I really love what I do and I don't plan to retire early. most days. But I also get to control most of my schedule. Not everyone does. And I've seen a lot of people really struggle after retirement. After all, it is a big life change, and if work's been your routine for decades, making that kind of a change can be jarring. If you're the kind of person that's thought hard about your purpose in life, retirement could be a big adjustment. And if you're one of those routine people, not that I know anything about that, you need to think about what your days will look like and build out your schedule before you retire. Happy hour still doesn't need to come any earlier than 5 o'clock, even in retirement. But when it comes to adjusting to retirement, most people are just good with it, even if it does take them a couple of months to adjust. Every person is different. All right, now that I've shown you some of the realities of each retirement age, if you're still wondering what retirement timing makes sense for you, then click in the link below to book a call so we can talk about analyzing your situation to determine your optimal retirement age. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room here. When people talk about retirement, especially early retirement, the focus is typically on savings and investments, and that is a big part of it. But the real wild card here is health insurance. If you retire at 55, you're a full decade away from Medicare. So what's the best case? Well, that'd be 18 months of COBRA and 8.5 years of individual plan premiums from a marketplace plan. And it's not cheap. Premiums can easily get up to $20,000 a year per couple, and we're not talking low deductibles either. But if you can pull it off, it means you get an extra decade where your time belongs to you. You can spend more time traveling, more time doing what you love, and more time being present in the lives of the kids. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy blue and the man in the moon. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What'd you do with the money? The money your parents gave you for singing lessons. But anyway, your health insurance may cost more than your mortgage during those first few years of retirement. And then we come to that stretch between age 59.5 and 65. There's still some planning and care required here. And of course, as we get older, things start to wear out and healthcare costs go up. So you'll still need some sort of strategy to bridge the gap between retirement and Medicare at age 65, but it's a little bit easier of a lift. If you do have investments in a taxable brokerage account, just watch your MAGI and shoot for those ACA subsidies if you can get them. And if you have an HSA, you can use that to cover a lot of expenses tax-free and preserve your cash and taxable investments. And so when you hit 65, Medicare solves a ton of problems. It dramatically reduces your healthcare costs, making premiums and out-of-pocket expenses far more predictable. But also, congratulations! You're now relying on a government program. There are all kinds of rules around networks, referrals, and treatments. That's why I typically recommend that my clients get a Medigap insurance policy to go with Medicare. For what you pay, it's a no-brainer, in my opinion. But no matter which age that you retire at, you still need a plan for health insurance and healthcare costs. Even though we don't have a ton of options, it's still something that needs to go in the retirement plan, which is why I include it as a default in all of my clients' plans. Okay, so health insurance and healthcare expenses are the real PITA when it comes to planning for retirement. Does it mean that you should always default to retiring later? Not necessarily. So retirement is both a financial decision and a quality of life decision. Being able to cover your expenses for the rest of your life is important, but so is your time, your health, and your ability to get what you want out of this life. So on paper, the earlier you retire, the more time and energy that you'll have to dedicate to living the life that you want that isn't encumbered by those pesky things that we call jobs. But also, the earlier you retire, the more critical your planning becomes and the bigger the risk that you take in trying to pull it all off. On paper, it's the classic risk-reward balancing act. But in the real world, there's a lot more to it. The truth is, none of us know how long we've got. There's a non-zero chance that, should you keep working longer, you end up on the wrong side of that risk-reward decision. By only using an analytical view, it's a no-brainer to hedge inflation by delaying your Social Security. But few financial planners will openly tell you that by retiring early, you also hedge against an earlier checkout time. While we do want to plan for a long lifespan, we need to acknowledge that we just don't know how long we all have. And that's why in cases where clients do have enough to retire early, I encourage them to do so. But also, if you don't have enough to retire, please don't retire. By all means, keep working. And if you do have to keep working, that doesn't mean that you can't start taking those bucket list trips. Use that PTO. All right, now that you understand these lifestyle trade-offs, let's look at how to determine your optimal retirement age based on your specific situation. Okay, so which retirement age is right for you? Step one, obviously, is to build out your financial plan to see if you can retire early. Do you have enough saved? Are you able to self-fund through your taxable investment account or through Rule 72T distributions all of your expenses before age 59 and a half? What about taxes? In step one, we're just seeing if this thing is feasible here. You might end up having this decision made for you. Step two is to have a plan for health insurance before Medicare. Does it make sense to use COBRA for 18 months? Could you be eligible for ACA marketplace subsidies? Would your spouse need to continue with an individual policy after you started Medicare? Unfortunately, there aren't as many options as we'd like with health insurance and with healthcare expenses in general, but it's good to think this stuff through ahead of time. And so our third step here is to do a little soul searching. Look, none of us know how long we really have. Now is the time to start doing all of those things that you really want to do. And it doesn't matter if they're profound or meaningful. It's your life we're talking about here. Do what you want to do. I mean, who cares if you want to collect Beanie Babies? Just go for it. No judgment. The key here is not to put the cart in front of the horse as we're planning out these expenses. The way that you want to live your life in retirement should drive those decisions, not the other way around. This is why I lead my clients through a life vision exercise early in our process. This way, we can start uncovering some of these things and include them in the plan. There are 7 days in the calendar, and someday isn't one of them. So get on it. And step four is to start filling in the details with all of our strategic and tactical decisions. How are you going to cover any pre-age 59 and a half withdrawals? What about strategic Roth conversions? When are you going to apply for Social Security? How are we going to invest, and what is our withdrawal strategy? This is where we start customizing things to fit the overall goals here. In the end, there's no right time for anyone to retire. And just because you can retire early doesn't mean that you should. Will your life have more joy and meaning if you retired? If so, that's a good sign that you should retire sooner rather than later. Is your bucket list really long? If so, that's another sign that you might want to lean toward retiring early, if you can pull it off. But if you're someone who still gets a lot of meaning from your work, or if you don't know what you'll do with all that free time yet, it's okay to keep working. And if you don't have enough money, definitely keep working. That's okay too. All right, now that I've shown you the financial planning and lifestyle trade-offs between retiring at 55, 60, or 65, you can make an informed choice about your retirement age. Because I want your retirement and your life to be an amazing one. If you want help analyzing which retirement age makes sense for you, then click in the link below to book a call, and I'll help you determine your optimal retirement age and build out a plan to make that happen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.